this course, we've been talking about how to really increase intrinsic motivation in your kids. And so part of that has to do with how we help them think through breaking down complex tasks into smaller ones, ways to think about the people around them and the tasks in their role as a student. We've also kind of talked about ways to talk to them so that they know that they are empowered to make the most of their education. So now what we're going to do is talk a little bit about giving them more responsibility. Believe it or not, giving and creating responsibilities for kids does help them become more empowered and does drive up that intrinsic motivation that we want them to have. So some of the ways that we can go about doing this is to share expectations with them ahead of time. When I know what the expectation is for a certain task or a certain event and what I'm expected to do, then I feel less anxiety and I am just all the more ready to go ahead and meet those expectations. So having clear expectations is a really important way to boost intrinsic motivation in our kids. Another one is to then have them repeat those expectations to us, just so that we're clear. And then that way you can clarify anything that they might not have understood at the first time, especially if you have teenagers where they're hearing every other word sometimes or sometimes they don't hear you at all, and so it is good to have them kind of tell us what they think they've heard us say so that we can clarify anything that didn't seem to quite register. And of course, follow through with consequences for breaking rules. So if I have a child who knows that they are supposed to sit and work on their homework, even if it's not perfect, but just put in some effort and they're constantly on their phone goofing off instead, then I need to provide a consequence for that. Maybe it's hanging onto the phone until they've fulfilled certain requirements before they get their phone back, just as a way to keep them from being distracted from homework. And so think about what the expectations are. Think about how fair those expectations are to them. Think about how to communicate those expectations to them without stressing them out and then have them tell you what those expectations are, clarify anything that they might have missed, and then let them know what the consequences will be if they don't follow through with their responsibilities, and make sure that the consequences that you provide them with are consequences that really support them and not consequences that are just a little heavy-handed. So for instance, if they're not focusing on their schoolwork because they're busy on their phone, a way to go about that is to just take the phone during those times when they need to be working, rather than I'm going to take your phone, you're never going to get it back. So you can see there's a difference, right? So one is setting them up for success. One seems awfully punitive. So make sure that you're setting them up for success. So think about what that might be for you, those expectations, how to communicate them, and then what the consequences will be.